Hello, welcome back to A Boring Revolution, your number one news source for everything in regards to the Boring Company and Elon Musk. My name's Will, and we're back with another predictions episode. It's been quite a long time, I must admit. However, there's been so much news and so many other things going on that I have had to focus on other things. However, I've had this one in the works for quite a while, so let's get going. So, weekly predictions. We're on episode 5. This is our 5th prediction. Just to recap, I predict something and we look back at it in 12 to 18 months' time. For this particular prediction, it's probably going to be more like, could be potentially 10 years, but I think you will see where I'm going with this one. Prediction 5. The tunnels will eventually become an underground toll road network. You will pay per mile, no longer a closed system. So why do I think that? Why do I think that Elon Musk is going to move this forward from just basically a public transport scheme into a full-on toll road type system, which is going to be used by buses, cars, maybe even adapted trucks. Who knows? Why would he do that? Well, it's fairly obvious. If you own that infrastructure, why not allow other people to use it so you can earn profit doing that? Now, he's not necessarily going to do this in an affordable manner. He probably will charge quite a high price for allowing people to use his network. But there are many advantages to using his network in terms of avoiding congestion, absolutely, straight routes to particular places. It will be fully electric, so you'll be able to travel at very, very high speeds. So not only will you get the energy because you're using an electric drivetrain. So why do I think this? We like our cars. Now, it's not necessarily going to be people driving Teslas that are going to use this system. Maybe people using BMWs, Mercedes, Toyotas. As long as they're either hybrid vehicles or electric vehicles, that's absolutely fine. Maybe he might even allow people to use ICE vehicles as long as they're on the skates. And it's not necessarily the Boring Company's skates that will be used. Excuse me. They will let other people build skates, and those skates will be able to transport other vehicles, including electric cars and potentially ICE vehicles or internal combustion engines. It makes logical sense. If you're a business and you can get someone to somewhere faster, more reliably, if they can do it for a reasonable price, and people are even willing to pay a premium for that sort of thing to get somewhere guaranteed on time in a few minutes, then people are going to pay for that sort of thing. So the Boring Company allowing other people to come and bring cars. People love the cars. I think that's what I'm trying to get out with this point, really. People love the cars. It's their own personal space. It's their own bubble. They can sit there. They can listen to music. They can drink. They can eat food. And they've got all that space there. They can just chill out. And people would rather do this in their own cars than potentially maybe sit in kind of like a minibus with 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 other people, and even though you're all there and it's it's some kind of like amicable relationship whereby you just sat there quietly, really you don't really enjoy the experience because there are other people in your space. I think people would rather keep the cars. Imagine if you could use this system every day and you could knock 20 miles off your commute every single day. That's pretty pessimistic. It might even be 30 miles, 40 miles. That is extending the life of your car. And if you like your car and you want to get your money's worth out of that car, which is a depreciating asset, then, hey, why not use it on the system every day? Why not enjoy that experience? What else? More profitable, more customers, all car users, bus users, bike. So we're looking at how do people get around in cities like LA and Chicago. They tend to use the metro, they tend to use buses, maybe they use trains, probably they use their car. If we can take a percentage of those people off those systems and put them onto the Boring Company system, then that equals more profit for us. So whether that is allowing maybe a startup to run its own minibus in the system, and that lets people use that rather than the actual public transport in LA, or even using the Boring Company's system, or maybe they use a scooter, and there is a specific pod just for people who are using scooters, maybe to put the scooters onto the pod, and then they could stand with their scooter whilst they get out of downtown, maybe for 10-15 miles, and they get out and they use a scooter. Well, that's great. It takes you out of a congested area, and maybe you could have like a regular service, like a timetable, like a train that leaves a particular station at a particular time. There's lots of potential opportunities. They're all willing to pay the Boring Company a certain amount of money per mile to use a system like a toll road, and that's profit in the Boring Company's pockets. And it helps them improve their other services. So again, that's fine. People like Uber and Lyft will not like it because it will take a lot of their customers away. Remember, these pods are not driven by people. Therefore, that is a considerable saving. And it can get you there faster. Public roads are limited at 70 miles an hour. So if you can go 150 miles an hour or even 130 miles an hour, if you want to take the average speed for that journey, then why not? You're going to use that service. There's a massive advantage to being underground and having all that space. So yeah, it's worth doing for the Boring Company because it equals more profit. They're not cannibalizing themselves. They're actually improving the service. And they're not necessarily going to do like 15 cents a mile. It might be more than that, so they make a good profit. This is more in terms of Elon Musk and looking at other legacy automakers, and maybe Uber and Lyft as well, if you include them. So GM, Toyota, Fiat, Honda and Volkswagen. It's going to kill the legacy competition. Certainly if this rolls out in a good few cities in the USA, maybe in Europe as well, China, Australia, it is going to have a big impact on the legacy automakers because people won't be driving in the major cities. And I'd imagine a good percentage of the business for these legacy automakers comes from buyers in these certain big cities all around the world. So if you are making it almost stupid to use a car in the city because you've got the Boring Co and its pods, if you've got all the startups who operate in that system as well, if you let cyclists use special toll tunnels, if you have a system for scooters, if you have like a carpool system maybe by another startup, you are taking serious money away from legacy automakers. That helps Tesla. Tesla are building the pods and probably other things for this system. Therefore, they are actually gaining money. The others are losing money. Inevitably, a lot of the automakers are going to go out of business. I'm not going to say they're all going to go out of business, but certainly like GM, Ford especially. Ford is in dire straits. It's things are not looking good. If you look at Ford's books, it's not looking good. Something like this could push it over the edge. And the same will happen at GM and Honda and maybe a few others. It will force them to go bankrupt. Yeah, another reason is it will be well supported by California's local government. They will back this big league. Why will they back this? Because they are very concerned about global warming. Everyone is concerned about global warming, but also they're concerned about air quality. Air quality is pretty poor in the major cities. They want to take drastic measures to reduce the pollution in the air. They want to reduce their effect on the climate. Therefore, by supporting a scheme like this, allowing it to expand very, very quickly, giving them the permission to operate more vehicles and allowing more startups to operate in the tunnel, they therefore will achieve their goals of reducing climate change, reducing CO2 emissions, and it will help with their re-election, and it will also make the city a better place to live. So they will be on board and they will probably push it through. Freight, big one. Potentially this could be another prediction episode. In fact, it probably will be. Specifically looking at freight. Maybe the Boeing company as well. But if you've got a network of tunnels, you're not necessarily going to just use them for moving passengers. You could allow startups to use them for moving freight, maybe even an Amazon. Maybe other companies could operate in that tunnel. You don't necessarily need a small pod. You could have something that looks more like a train, that maybe has specific stations where it docks. Is massive opportunities. So if you can take lorries and trucks off the road, put them on the ground, it's fast, it's efficient, and you can get directly to your destination. Maybe even goes directly underneath the warehouse right in the middle of downtown. This is a absolutely game-changing opportunity for freight startups. Okay, so I've given a few reasons there why I think they should operate it as a toll road, and I believe they will do it at a later date. It will be a good few years before they start talking about this, but you'll start to see the Boring Company moving in this direction once they realise how much money they can make by allowing others to use their system. Especially if they are very successful and you have maybe startups knocking on the door saying, hey, can we get involved? How can we use the system? We're willing to pay a good 15, 20 cent a mile if we can use the system at full speed. That would really, really offer some excellent opportunities. So when you can build tunnels for $3 million a mile, that is a game changer. Absolute game changer. Because that is less than a lane of motorway built on the surface, excluding land costs. It costs a lot more when you include the cost of the land. Obviously, underground, you don't need to pay for the land. Not necessarily. Depends if you go underneath someone else's land, but really, the majority of it is not. You're not paying for it. Essentially, you're getting it free of charge. You just need to get permission to bore that tunnel. $3 million a mile, and I'm going to keep talking about this. This is absolutely critical number for the Boring Company to beat, and I think they will beat it by quite a big percentage. But we will have to see. If they can start building for $3 million a mile, it makes a lot of economic sense to extend the tunnelling system all over LA. Once you've linked every single town and city in LA, why not expand it to other places? Why not even connect all the cities? I think to begin with, it'll start off with maybe the major cities will have all their own networks, and then maybe at some point there might be connections, but the majority of the tunnels will be built in the major cities, and they will be built underneath existing roads, various levels, maybe 10, 15 levels, and at $3 million a mile, it will make perfect sense. And people don't want to sit in traffic. They want to get places quickly. And if they can do that on the system and it's relatively affordable, they will almost certainly abandon using the systems at the surface, like buses and cars, scooters, those sorts of things. The government are not doing a good job at maintaining roads. It doesn't matter what country you live in. Maybe a few exceptions like Norway and Finland, because they obviously invest a lot of money in maintaining their roads. A lot of other countries have terrible roads. Why the governments own roads is quite a strange one. When you think of the railways and canals and other transport systems, they tend to be owned by private enterprises, whereas the roads, it seems strange that it's owned by the public sector, and the private sector benefits from them owning the roads. Doesn't seem to work. It would be far better if all roads were converted to toll roads and you actually paid, a cost which then goes into maintaining the road, and the road had to be kept at a minimum standard, and that minimum standard would be very high. I.e., a pothole would not exist if it was more than 20 millimeters across, something like that. That was, you wouldn't notice it if it was that size. It would be repaired fairly quickly. So the government's putting billions of pounds into maintaining roads. Seems a bit silly. If they can be replaced by a private sector using tunnels, then everyone wins. Boring Co and Tesla will bankrupt legacy companies who refuse to change. We've seen this by Ford recently, who said that, we don't need to think about building an electric pickup. Now, that sounds insane to me. I'm not saying I'm a businessman, but when one of your biggest competitors says that they're going to build a pickup truck, and they're currently working on it, and they're going to reveal it, probably in Q3 next year, Tesla will reveal their pickup truck. You should instantly be thinking about doing your own R&D, building your own truck, and trying to produce something that's going to compete with that. But instead they're saying, we're not going to worry about it. It'll be fine. Well, that is exactly what happened to Nokia and BlackBerry. They didn't think they could be overtaken. They thought they had lots of time. Boom. Before you know it, you're out of business. Because you can't recover quick enough. I think that at least 6 of the top 10 legacy automakers in the world right now, and I'm talking about companies that are more than 100, some are a bit less, some are more than 80 years old. The legacy automakers, a lot of them will go out of business, especially if they're in the top 10 producers at the moment. Yeah, I firmly believe that if they can really expand these tunnels, especially at $3 million a mile, that will make a huge difference. A lot of the local roads will just be empty, but the big roads, the main arteries that go into the cities in LA, especially the 405, it'll be hardly used. It will be literally empty for 22 hours of a typical day. Literally empty. Because everyone will use tunnels. There'll be no reason to use it. Unless they increase the speed limit, which I doubt they're going to do anyway. It could happen. But why would you use a slower, more, congested, less direct route? You just won't do it. You will not do it. You will rather stay underground, take a nice direct route to your destination, get there super fast, low cost, no CO2 emissions. The only good thing about the 405 is that you've got a bit of a view. That's the only thing. You might get the odd people using it. I'd imagine a lot of it will be removed, maybe turned into a green space. That won't happen for a good 20 years, but at some point they will just stop maintaining it, and it will just become maybe just like a dual carriageway. That literally, there'll be so few people using it, it'll just become a dual carriageway, and the rest will be green space. Alright, well, thank you again for watching, guys. Something else I wanted to talk to you about. I've got some news has just popped up, actually, so we're going to talk about that. Please like and subscribe. Again, we're gaining lots of subscribers. I believe we've got 136 subscribers as of right now. That's really excellent. We're looking for that 200. I think we'll get there pretty soon, maybe in the new year. If you have any predictions, or if you have any issues with what I've said today in episode 5, please comment below and tell me what you think. Maybe there's certain things you disagree with. Maybe you think Ford are going to last the test of time, because they have done in the past. Well, you know, tell me below. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think I should do in my next predictions episode. Yeah, so like and share this episode if you can, please. Let's have a look at that news. What was I looking at on? Here we are. Elon Musk Boring Company is launching a DIY watchtowers with bricks from tunnel dirt. So it's a bit, I think it's just a bit of a crazy example of what he wants to do. So a watchtower is kind of like a very tall structure with an area on top, like a parapet where you can stand. And he just kind of wants to show how solid his bricks are, that are made from the dirt that is excavated from the TBM. There's something funny that he said. I can't find it now. But there you go. It's probably just an example of what you can do with the technology. These bricks will be very cheap. It's a great way of getting costs down, because a large proportion of digging a tunnel is the cost of actually removing the dirt and finding a landfill for it. So if they can do that, if they can make a bit of a fun kind of structure for people to look at, then that's pretty cool. So it's all good. Hopefully we'll get some pictures of that up when they build it, and then we can talk about what else they can build with those bricks and blocks. Okay, guys, well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Don't be boring, and goodbye. Thank you.